welcome to NWA Power episode, I believe 47, because I did not review 46, which was part 1 of By Any Means Necessary. As I told you last week, I wasn't feeling very well. I was not myself. That was around the time of the Moxley video and the video for talking about OH and WWE, and particularly Kylie Rae. If you remember in that video, I did talk about Kylie Rae having to take off again due to the fact that she relapsed in her depression and started drinking and smoking weed. So around that time, I wasn't doing exactly right because I got stressed out, I got upset, and my stomach got all messed up. So I did not see all of part 1 of By Any Means Necessary, but I did see some of it, and I thought it was interesting. Now here's part 2 of it. And I will say this. Comparing it to Dynamite or to WWE, it was actually good. Now, if you have not seen it, I would recommend you to see it. Now, let me make it clear. This isn't a huge show where it's 5-star matches. But it is very good matches. And it does tie up several things that's going on for a NWA Power. Now, we had an opening with Crimson and his son, saying that Jax Dane is going to be paying a price. Now, I'm thinking about this, that when I thought last week was the ending of it, because I didn't see all of it, I thought that was it. And then I saw this and said, oh, so what they probably did made into a theme show and then cut it into 2 parts, which is fine. I have no problem with it. So I was wondering how well this steel cage match was going to go. So when Storm came out and talked to Kyle Davis, he was talking about dealing with Jaden Rowland, I believe that's his name. And he was wondering how things are going to be, how he's going to be dealing with you because you're a former champion. And then Rowland comes in and attacks him. Demands a no DQ match from a Tim Storm who's known to be a hardcore wrestler in certain cases and didn't mind doing no DQ matches. And I'm going, really? A no DQ match right out of the bat? WWE doesn't do that. No. They don't usually have their wrestlers come in, fight someone, and they demand a no DQ match. Neither they do in the AEW either, or Impact for that matter. It's rare for Impact to do a no DQ match off the bat on a themed show. They just don't normally do it. So it was different. Now, mind you, if they do this a lot of times, I will chew their asses out for it. But in this situation, it wasn't bad because I know the NWA doesn't usually do it. Now, was this a 5-star match? It was okay. It wasn't a 5-star match. But Jaden did pretty well. Storm did pretty well. I didn't explore. I don't know if Jaden Rowland is on the roster yet. This might have been a debut match for him to see if the crowd would warm up to him where they were and would it work. So it wasn't bad. I can't say it was bad. It was a good match for what it was. And Storm won. I was not surprised. And you saw him at one point screaming, "This is no DQ," when Austin Idol was on commentary with a Velvet Sky and a Joe Galley. I always say Gallon and Galley. I always forget. But pretty much, it wasn't bad. But I gotta say this about the show in general. The lighting wasn't very good. The music could have been a little louder. The commentators, you could hear them 100%, no problem. I'm all right with it. Now, people will get on, they'll get on Velvet Sky's nerves because she can be shrill at certain parts. And Austin Idol was entertaining beyond heck. But I do believe he was trying a little too hard to be entertaining. And a little bit of Velvet Sky was being a little shill. She did tone it down at the end of the show. But she was shill. Very, very annoying in her voice. It was like she was trying really hard to show that Austin Idol was getting on her freaking nerves. It was relayed, but she was trying a little bit too hard. And you know that don't come across very well. I'm just saying. Now, we had Kenzie Page, I believe her name is Kenzie, Page versus Camille. 2 out of 3 falls, which was actually quite interesting. WWE don't even pull that shit off unless they do some stupid beat the clock challenge. This was actually entertaining. This wasn't one of the most greatest 5-star matches, but you could say there's a lower tier 5-star, a mid tier 5-star, and a total high 5-star tier match. You could say this is a low to near mid 5-star match. I'm not saying it was one of the greatest, really great match, but due to the fact it was a 2 out of 3 fall match, you got a chance to see Camille at her best. You got a chance to see Mackenzie Page. I believe she's now 19 or 20. I can't remember how old she is. She's around 19 or 20, I think, because I remember she was maybe 18. I think she's about 19 now. This gives you an opportunity to see where she's developing. It's actually good to see that she has developed pretty well. Now, at one point, she did jam her right hand. I think she jammed her fingers into the turnbuckle, and she was shaking it a lot. Now, I'm not showing any images because I want to get this out as quickly as possible. But I couldn't catch it. So I will say she got the first fall, she lost it to Camille. The second fall, she lost it to Camille. But even Camille had to give her props for the hard work that she did. And everyone did enjoy the match. Now, before the thing was all over, you got Latimer coming out with Adonis with a birthday cake for Camille because it is her birthday. And they wanted to make it special, at least until Kyle Davis came into the ring and was saying, hey, is this wise to do? You're about to deal with all this and the new champion, Murdoch. Don't you think this is the wisest thing to do? And he said, shut up. And this is Latimer. He said, shut up. I want everyone here to give the greatest woman on the world a happy birthday scream and cheer. And as they cheered, he said, you all suck. And then she forces Kyle Davis. Well, not she. He forces. Sorry. He may not be wearing the pants in the family, but it's a he. You'll see what I'm talking about at the end of the match between them and Aldis and Murdoch. But he's demanding Kyle Davis to sing happy birthday. You got the Aldis coming out, and then you got Murdoch coming out, and then we had the match between Aldis, Murdoch, and now supposedly Aldis tried a desist order from his lawyers to try and get Latimer and Adonis to stop using Strictly Business, but Latimer supposedly trademarked it. So he could not stop it, so they're going to be using the Strictly Business, which I'm not surprised. Heels need to use Strictly Business. If Aldis wins that back, it should be at maybe Hard Times 2, where the only way he can get the Strictly Business name back is in Hard Times 2 as a pay-per-view, because this ain't no damn pay-per-view. It's just a live event. You got that. I think that would be really interesting, because I'm wondering, would it be interesting to make Strictly Business a good guy team and you got Aldis and Murdoch on it instead of Latimer and Adonis and Camille? You guys tell me below. I think that would be interesting. The match was fine. It was okay for what it was. You got a nut shot on a Nick Aldis once. Oh, and you also got 2 nut shots. I believe it was 2 nut shots to a Tim Storm during his match with a Jayden Roland. So there was a lot of nut shots going on. There was a lot of nuts going on. A lot of nuts getting split in their trunks. But you got an interesting thing. You get Camille getting ejected because she interfered in the match the first time. Then she comes back and she interjects herself again into the match. And instead of King, I forgot the guy's first name, but the ref King stopping the match because of interference and maybe leaving it for Hard Times 2 where they can do the match again because it was stopped by Camille and the ref just got sick of it. He allowed it to continue, and in the end, the faces win, which I don't know if that was the wisest thing to do. I don't know why they would let Aldis and Murdoch win here when they could have stretched this into Hard Times 2. They could have. They could have stretched this into Hard Times 2. You could have Murdoch doing something interesting like trying to get back its national championship while he's in the world champion. Who says that the champ couldn't hold 2 titles? Who says Murdoch couldn't go after the national title? Or hell, why not have, and maybe they are going to do this, Nick Aldis trying to get another title, which would be the national championship, which is the next line up to the world title. Who says he can't get a lower tier title? He doesn't have to go back into the main title scene yet. Who says he can't go after Chris Adonis and get the national title? So hopefully that is where they're going by Hard Times 2. Because I think seeing Nick Aldis as champ and the national title scene will be fine for a while, and then when time is right, he can go right back into the world title scene and go after the national the title again and get Sweet Charlotte again. That's just me. You guys tell me below. Finally, we had the steel cage match of Jax Dean versus Crimson. Now, I was wondering how they're going to make this work. I was wondering how far they were going to go with this. And I was wondering, would there be any swerve? Well, in the beginning, you got, it's not unusual to see a heel go out of the cage, wait up the ramp for the face to come up and act stupid. And usually the face would get caught and then get the ass whooped beforehand. And that is usually a WWE thing. So seeing that the Crimson came from the back and attacked Jax Dean while he was up the ramp was fine. Seeing Crimson whoop his ass a bit was fine. And once they finally got into the ring where Jax Dean threw in basically a chair ahead of time, was okay. So the match itself was okay. But you wondered how they're going to make this very interesting in a swerve compared to what we normally would get. Now, there was no law or rules that was set up for the steel cage. You go in there, pinfall or submission is the only way you can win. So when you started seeing powder from a Jax Dean, you would think, well, shouldn't the ref just stop the match there? No one said this is a hardcore match. No one said this is a no DQ match. No one said this is anything goes match. But it's a steel cage, and pretty much there was no general rule about anything else other than pinfall and submission. So at one point, steel chair was used. Powder was used to go into Crimson's head, who he got a cut right here. Well, cut right about here. And eventually, because it looks like the Jax Dean had his stuff in his shirt, because he's wearing a plaid shirt over his vest ahead of time, he had not only powder, he also had supposedly rubbing alcohol in a big bottle. And everyone's screaming, oh my gosh, he's got rubbing alcohol that is going to burn, and he throws straight into a Crimson's face, which pretty much blinds the crap out of him, and he's done. Jax Dean wins. But the question is going to be now where they're going to go with this situation between Dean and Crimson. And I'll say this. Was it a good steel cage match? It was unique because it wasn't a standard steel cage match. Now, mind you, if they said it was no DQ in the steel cage and anything goes once the doors close, because they didn't generally say a lot that you could have anything to go into the ring. And the ref didn't stop it, so you have to assume that it is anything can go once the door is closed. But there are going to be some people who say that's kind of stupid because they should have clarified that before the match started. But in this situation, since it's not a pay-per-view, it is a standard power show that has been cut in half. That means it was, an hour and 10 minutes? That means it was over 2 hours long, and they cut it in half. They opened with a Jax Dean in part 1, and they opened with Crimson in part 2. They cut them in half, and then they aired them both, which is fine. You don't have to always see the logic in everything as long as they book it properly. That's one problem a lot of promotions do. They try to either make it very logical and they lose the mystique and the fun of it, or they don't make sure there's at least enough logic in it, like WWE, and they make it bullshit because who wants to care about something that doesn't have some level of logic in it? If there's no level of logic, it's bullshit. If there's too much level of logic, it's bullshit. You got to have that happy medium where it's very hard to make it. Let's be honest. It's hard to do it. But in this situation, it was all right. It wasn't perfect, the show, but at least it was enjoyable enough. Now, if you have not seen it, I would encourage you to see it because it wasn't bad. Now, I hope you enjoyed this NWA Power review. Please give me a comment. I hate when I botch. It's supposed to be comment below. Give me a comment below. Give me a like. Maybe have someone, if you know anybody, to take a look at this. If they like it, hopefully they'll subscribe. I get no money out of this. I'm hoping that you guys will like it, so I'll know that you want me to keep doing this in the format I've been doing it. Peace.